is the Regenerative Real Estate Podcast. Revitalizing the world together.
Hey there, this is Neil Collins, the host of the Regenerative Real Estate Podcast. This is our first episode, and I'm really glad that you're tuning in. Creating this podcast is not something that I ever saw myself doing. As a dad to a rambunctious toddler and a leader of a real estate company, a year ago I would have told you that you're crazy if you would have told me I would be starting a regular podcast series. Where would I find the time? What on earth would I talk about? Between helping our clients buy and sell real estate, running a team of employees, managing several hundred properties, and putting in training runs for a marathon racing schedule, I just had too many plates spinning to possibly think that I would want to take on an endeavor such as this. But a lot's happened in the past year. Something wasn't feeling right. From the outside looking in, everything was great. I had a growing company, a healthy son, a supportive wife, a nice house. You know, what more could I want? Maybe it was the long run to the rainforest of the Pacific Northwest, or the new routines I began incorporating into my life, like daily meditation, sauna, journaling, and therapy that finally helped deliver a wake-up call. This wake-up call is something that I know we all feel to a certain degree. That's because we're all living through these unprecedented times when our society and our environment is changing faster than it ever has in human history. When you turn on the television, you get bombarded with vitriolic political propaganda, especially now during election years. When we go on the internet, we're reading about historical fires or flooding or ice caps melting. When we're talking to our families, we're learning about our loved ones that are getting sick. Or in my case, it was my dad and my mother-in-law both getting cancer at the same time. We're all working longer, our health is deteriorating, our stress levels are going through the roof, and there's now so many people telling us so many conflicting things of what we should do, what we should believe, and more acutely, what we should be buying. It simply becomes overwhelming. My background is in sustainable development, and outside of grad school, I spent the majority of my young adult life working abroad in Eastern Europe and South Asia. I had the opportunity to work on meaningful projects in places like Maldives, where the people there are literally having to put plans together to relocate the entire nation population due to impending sea level rise. The entire population. No matter where I went, people seem to be worrying about the same thing. How do they live a meaningful life? How do they provide for their families? And how do they pave a way for their children to have a bright future? But from my position, the future wasn't looking so bright. As a kid, I remember hearing Bill McKibben talk about the critical point that we needed to watch out for as a species was when the atmospheric carbon dioxide hit 350 parts per million. We're now at 410. Corresponding to that, we've lost an estimated 50 to 60% of our biological diversity over the last 5 decades alone. That means roughly 150 to 200 species go extinct per day. That's 1,000 times faster than the natural rate that it should be at. When you look at the health of our people, those statistics are just as alarming. At the turn of the century, 1 in 20 people received a cancer diagnosis. In the 1940s, it was 1 in 16. By the 70s, it was 1 in 10. And today, 1 in 3 people will get diagnosed with cancer. And if you're a male, like I am, you have a 50-50 chance. That's crazy. When I think about the world that we're leaving to our children, I am astounded. The future generations are already grieving, and they're asking, how did we get here? Why hasn't someone done something about this? That's when I started to look for answers. The more I dove in, the more I realized it's like peeling back an onion only to find more layers. I began to start piecing things together and realized that we had organized our ways of life so fast that it's simply too much to take in. This change has permeated our everyday lives where people simply don't know that they don't know. We all hear the news stories about how our oceans have now petroleum-based plastic in each drop of water. We know that our industrial agriculture system is destroying our fertile topsoil, that the rainforests are getting cut down and the ice caps are melting. We know this. But what isn't common knowledge is what scared me, especially when it came to me doing research about my own area of expertise, real estate. What initially drew me to the industry was how our entire worlds are organized around the built environment. For that, I mean, think about from the moment you wake up in your house to the offices and the schools that you go to, the roads that you drive on, even the trails that you hike on. These have all been sculpted by humans before you. Our habits, recreation, health, education, and community bonds all come from how we organize ourselves into this physical world. And what we've done is sprawled out across the country, creating cities and suburbs that actively work against our well-being. In the US, it's sacrilegious not to own a car. But somehow we don't think to bemoan the fact that we have obligated ourselves to a way of life that requires us to pay thousands of dollars for a piece of metal that pollutes the air, kills tens of thousands of people annually, jams our road, makes us sedentary, and empties our pocketbooks each month in the form of insurance, gas, and car payments. We've built roads and orient our houses to them instead of towards green, open spaces. And we get pissed when someone parks in front of our house on the street. We have built our houses out of toxic materials that are known carcinogens. I can't even begin to tell you how many gas ranges I've helped clients install in their new house. And now municipalities are stopping all new construction to have gas due to the health implications from poor indoor air quality. We got that one wrong. It's not just the gas range, it's literally everything. The majority of our housing stock has already been built, which means that there is almost certain probability that there is lead in your house and in your soil. There's asbestos in the insulation, the flooring, the ducting, or there's formaldehyde in our cabinets, the walls, the flooring, the furniture, and all the glues that we use in construction. Lest we not forget that we've also taken it as the norm to outsource the growing of our food. We've turned this over to multinational corporations. Now, I'm not upset about that, but the consequence has been that our food system hangs delicately on a string, with our health and environment being the collateral damage. This is underpinned by a profit motivation, not so much at creating a healthy and nutritious food system. So this past year has been an awakening for me. It's been a coming of terms that this isn't the time for business as usual. It's a time to seek answers and to take action. It's a time when I have started to put the puzzle pieces together that how we use our land and our real estate is at the epicenter of the problem. And if that's the case, it's likely at the center of our solutions. What this podcast is my own search for these solutions. I normally wouldn't put myself out there this way to broadcast myself to the world, but I really want you to come along with me. I want us to go through this discovery process together, because at the end of the day, this is a podcast for all of us. I have some great guests lined up, from industry leaders to iconoclasts, from Nobel laureates to the urban farmer next door. And as the title suggests, it is going to be about how we can use our real estate as a means to regenerate our health, our communities, our soil, our spirits, and our prosperity. I just have one favor to ask. Go to your podcast app, hit subscribe, so that you can tune in to our next episode. Thanks for listening.